He slapped me in front of everyone on his 56th birthday. 30 guests, champagne glasses raised, a 3-tier cake on the table, and when his hand hit my face, the room went silent. I tasted blood and humiliation at the same time. I walked out of that house with a bruise on my cheek and nothing in my hands but my purse. 2 weeks later, a judge took everything from him: his house, his reputation, his control. And the part that still keeps me awake at night is this: the slap was not the worst thing he ever did to me. It was just the first thing he did in public. Before I go any further, if you connect with stories about betrayal, accountability, and finding your voice after years of silence, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. I read more of them than you think. My name is Angela Valadez. I am 24 years old. And this is what happened the night my father decided I was ungrateful. My father, Roberto Valadez, turned 56 that Saturday. He liked to say he built everything from nothing. He owned a small construction company in our town outside of San Antonio, Texas. He wore starched button-downs and heavy watches and always stood like he was on a stage even when he was just in the kitchen. The party was at his house. Not our house. His house. That distinction mattered to him. I woke up at 5 that morning because that is what I always did before one of his events. I vacuumed the living room. I scrubbed the kitchen counters until they shined. I arranged folding chairs in the backyard in neat rows. I sliced limes for drinks. I ironed the white tablecloth 3 times because he said wrinkles made him look cheap. My older brother Daniel showed up at noon with a gift bag from a luxury store at the mall. My father hugged him at the door and laughed loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I had spent 3 months saving for his gift. I worked part-time at a bakery. I made $11 an hour plus tips. I skipped lunches to save more. I bought him a leather-bound planner from a specialty office store, $112. I thought it looked professional. I thought he would like it because he always talked about being organized, about being a man of vision. By 6 that evening, the backyard was full. Music, laughter, ice clinking in glasses. My father stood near the grill telling stories about contracts and investments. He loved an audience. My stepmother, Lucinda, floated from guest to guest in a red dress that caught the light. When it came time to open gifts, everyone gathered around the long patio table. My brother handed over a designer watch. My father held it up and smiled wide. "That is my son," he said. "He knows quality." People clapped. Then it was my turn. I stepped forward with the planner wrapped in simple brown paper. I had written "Happy Birthday, Dad" in careful handwriting across the top. He took it. He weighed it in his hand. He tore the paper off and flipped through the pages. There was a pause, a small one. Then he laughed. "What is this, Angela?" "It is a planner, Dad. I thought you could use it for your projects." He looked around at his friends, at his clients, at the men who worked under him. A planner. He said the word like it tasted bad. Do I look like I cannot afford a planner? I felt my face get hot. I saved for it. You saved for this. He held it up. "This is something you buy for a teacher, not for a man who built his own company." And then he slapped me. Open hand. Hard enough that my head snapped to the side. Someone gasped. Someone else looked down at their drink. My stepmother did not move. My brother stared at his shoes. "You embarrass me in front of my own guests," my father said. "You think this is funny." No one defended me. No one said stop. I stood there with the planner on the ground by my feet and realized something that felt colder than the sting on my cheek. I was not his daughter in that moment. I was a reflection. And he did not like what he saw. I walked through the house without saying goodbye. I grabbed my purse and my car keys. I did not pack a bag. I did not think that far. I just knew I could not stay. I drove to my friend Marisol's apartment across town. When she opened the door and saw my face, she did not ask questions. She just stepped aside and let me in. I slept on her couch that night. I did not cry until 3 in the morning when the house was quiet and the sound of the slap replayed in my head again and again. The next morning, my phone was full of messages. Not from my father, from relatives. "Why would you humiliate him like that? You know how he is. You should apologize." Not one message asked if I was okay. On Monday, I went back to the house while he was at work. I needed my birth certificate, my social security card, my documents. I had never kept them myself. They were in a small lockbox in his office. When I tried to open the drawer where he kept it was empty. Lucinda stood in the doorway. "You are not taking anything," she said. "Your father is very upset. I need my documents. He says you are not ready to be on your own. He says you make impulsive decisions. I am 24. You live under his roof." "Not anymore," I said. She crossed her arms. "If you walk away like this, do not expect help when you come crawling back." I left without the documents. That afternoon, I received a text from my father. "You will come home and apologize, or you will learn what it means to lose everything." At the time, I thought it was just another threat. He had always used money as leverage. He paid my car insurance. He covered part of my college tuition before I dropped out to work. He liked reminding me that everything I had came from him. What I did not know was that my name was tied to something much bigger. 2 days later, I got a call from a woman who introduced herself as Cynthia Morales, an attorney. She said she represented a business partner of my father. Her voice was calm, professional. "Miss Valadez," she said, "we believe you may have information relevant to an ongoing civil case involving Roberto Valadez Construction." I almost hung up. "I do not know anything about his business." "That may not be entirely accurate," she said. "According to public filings, you are listed as a cosigner on 2 commercial loans and a minority shareholder in the company." I laughed because it sounded ridiculous. I never signed anything like that. "There is a notarized signature with your name," she said. The room felt smaller. I was sitting at Marisol's kitchen table. The coffee in my hand suddenly tasted bitter. I never signed any business loans. She paused. "Miss Valadez, are you aware that if the company defaults, you could be personally liable?" "For how much?" "Approximately $600,000. I felt like I had been slapped again. "Harder this time." "That is not possible. We have reason to believe certain documents may have been executed without your informed consent. If you are willing, we would like you to come in and review copies." That was the moment everything shifted. The slap had pushed me out of the house, but this call made me realize the house had never been safe. I met Cynthia at her office in downtown San Antonio. She laid out documents across a polished conference table, loan agreements, shareholder forms, personal guarantees. My name appeared again and again. Angela Marie Valadez, signed in blue ink. The signatures looked like mine. Close enough. But something about the way the A curved felt off. "I did not sign these," I said. "We suspected as much. Roberto has been under investigation for misappropriation of funds and falsifying financial statements. When we saw your name, we wanted to confirm whether you were aware of your involvement." Involvement. That word made my stomach twist. What happens if the bank thinks I am responsible? If the guarantees are upheld, they could pursue you for repayment. However, if we can prove forgery or coercion, the liability shifts back to him, and potentially into criminal territory. I stared at my name on the page. $600,000. I could barely afford rent. Why would he use my name? Cynthia did not answer immediately. "Sometimes," she said carefully, "people use family members as shields. It makes transactions look less suspicious." A shield. That was what I was. A buffer between him and consequences. I thought about the night of the party, about the way he said I embarrassed him, about the threat in his text. "You will learn what it means to lose everything." He thought I would run back. He thought I would apologize and fall back into line. He did not think I would sit across from a lawyer and start asking questions. Cynthia asked if I would be willing to provide a sworn statement, to confirm that I had not knowingly signed those documents, to describe my relationship with my father and his control over my finances. I said yes, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted my name back. Over the next week, things moved quickly. The bank froze certain company accounts. Subpoenas were issued. My father called me 14 times in one day. I did not answer. He showed up at Marisol's apartment on a Thursday evening. He banged on the door so hard the neighbors came out into the hallway. Angela, open this door. Marisol stood beside me. Do not open it, she whispered. He kept shouting, You think you can ruin me. After everything I did for you. There it was again. Everything I did for you. I opened the door just enough to look at him through the chain lock. You put $600,000 in my name, I said, without telling me. It was paperwork, he snapped. Technical. You are my daughter. It stays in the family. You forged my signature. He leaned closer. Do you know what will happen to this family if this company collapses? Your brother will lose his job. Your stepmother will lose the house. And it will be because you wanted to play victim. I felt something settle inside me, a calm I did not expect. No, I said. It will be because you lied. He looked at me like he did not recognize me, like the girl who used to lower her eyes was gone. You are ungrateful. Maybe, I said, but I am not your shield. I closed the door. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks after his birthday. Civil court first. The question was whether the loan guarantees with my name were valid. If the judge determined they were forged, the case would be referred for criminal review. The morning of the hearing, I wore a simple navy dress, nothing flashy, nothing apologetic. Cynthia sat beside me at the plaintiff's table. My father sat across the aisle with his attorney, a man with silver hair and a tired expression. When the documents were projected onto the courtroom screen, I saw my name larger than I had ever seen it. The judge asked me directly, Miss Valadez, did you sign these agreements? No, Your Honor. Did you authorize anyone to sign on your behalf? Number. My father's attorney suggested that perhaps I had forgotten, that perhaps I had signed under family pressure and now regretted it. The judge looked at me. Did anyone pressure you to sign? No, I said. I was not given the opportunity to sign because I was not told these documents existed. Cynthia presented a handwriting expert's report. The analysis showed inconsistencies in the signature patterns compared to verified samples from my driver's license and employment records. Then the bank's investigator testified. He described irregularities in multiple contracts, inflated revenue statements, delayed payments to subcontractors. My father sat very still. When he was called to testify, he tried to frame it as misunderstanding, a father managing paperwork for a busy daughter, a harmless shortcut. The judge interrupted him. Mr. Valadez, signing your daughter's name to a personal guarantee on a commercial loan is not a shortcut. It is fraud. The word hung in the air. Fraud. 2 weeks after he slapped me for embarrassing him, the judge ruled that the guarantees were invalid due to forgery. The matter was referred to the district attorney for further investigation. The bank was authorized to pursue recovery directly from Roberto Valadez and his company assets. In plain language, the protection he thought he had built around himself disappeared. Within days, liens were placed on the house. Company equipment was repossessed. Clients pulled contracts. His business accounts were frozen pending review. He called me once more. Are you happy now? I thought about that question for a long time before answering. No, I said. I am free. The criminal case is still ongoing as I tell you this. I do not know what the final outcome will be. What I do know is this. The slap was never about a planner. It was about control. The documents were never about helping me build credit. They were about using my name as collateral for his ego. I moved into a small apartment of my own last month. I keep my documents in a fireproof box under my bed. I check my credit report every 30 days. I am back in school part-time studying accounting. There is something almost poetic about that, learning how numbers tell the truth when people do not. My relationship with my brother is strained. He says I should have handled it privately. That family business should stay in the family. I tell him that secrets are what allowed it to grow in the first place. Lucinda has not contacted me. Sometimes I think about that night in the backyard, about the planner on the ground, about the sound of skin against skin and the silence that followed. I used to replay it with shame. Now I replay it with clarity. That was the moment the illusion cracked. If you are in a situation where someone uses money to control you, where your name is attached to things you do not understand, where love feels conditional on obedience, please listen to me. Check your documents. Know what you are signing. Ask questions even if your voice shakes, because sometimes the thing that feels like the worst moment of your life is the beginning of the truth. My father thought the slap would put me back in my place. Instead, it pushed me out of it. And 2 weeks later, when the judge said the word fraud, I realized something simple. He did not lose everything because I spoke up. He lost everything because he built it on my name without my consent. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. Tell me in the comments if you have ever had to reclaim your own name from someone who thought they owned it. And remember this: respect that depends on silence is not respect at all. It is control, and control eventually answers to the truth.